3 months ago, a guy pulled into my bay with a 2004 Ford F-150. Nothing special about that. I see F-150s every single day. But then I looked at the odometer, 412,000 miles. I actually laughed, not at him, at the number. Because in 14 years of turning wrenches, I have never once seen an original Ford engine go that distance without a rebuild, without a short block swap, without someone cracking it open and putting fresh internals in. Never. Not once. So I popped the hood expecting the worst. Black sludge, scored cam lobes, passages caked with carbon so thick you could scrape it off with a fingernail. Instead, I pulled the valve cover and just stood there. Clean. Spotless passages. Cam lobes that looked like they just came off a machine. An engine so pristine inside that if you showed me a photo and asked me to guess the mileage, I would have said 60,000, maybe 70,000 on a bad day, not 412,000, not in a million years. I looked at this man and I said, "What in the world have you been doing to this truck?" He smiled, reached into his wallet, pulled out a card so worn it was almost falling apart at the folds. 7 steps. Handwritten, barely legible. His father had written it. A race crew mechanic from the old days who understood something about engines that most people today have completely forgotten. My old man always said, he told me how you change the oil matters just as much as how often you change it. I photographed every word on that card, went home that night and started testing. Spent the next 2 months running that method on my own vehicles and a handful of my customers' trucks. And what I found was impossible to ignore. That is exactly what I'm sharing with you today. The complete step-by-step technique that kept a Ford engine running cleaner at 412,000 miles than most engines I see at 90,000. If you want your Ford to go 300, 400, maybe even 500,000 miles, you need to watch every second of this. This is Vital Ford. And before we get into it, if you're new here, subscribe right now. I post deep dive mechanical content specifically for Ford owners who actually care about keeping their trucks and cars alive for the long haul. Hit the bell too so you don't miss what's coming next. Now let's get into it. Here's the thing nobody tells you about conventional oil changes. They're not designed to make your engine last forever. They're designed to be fast, cheap, and good enough for someone who's trading the car in at 120,000 miles and walking away. If that's you, the quick lube shop is fine. Drive through, get your oil swapped in 20 minutes, go home. You'll never notice the difference. But if you want that Ford engine to see 300,000 miles, 400,000? That routine is slowly, quietly killing it every single time. Here's what's actually happening when you do a cold oil change. The oil is thick. It clings to every internal surface like cold honey on a spoon. When you drain it cold, somewhere between 10 and 15% of that old, degraded, contaminated oil never leaves the engine. It just sits there, stuck to the walls, hiding in passages, coating surfaces. Then you pour in your fresh oil, and it immediately starts mixing with the leftover garbage. You just diluted your brand new oil before the engine even fired up. Then there's the dry filter problem. A brand new filter pulled straight from the box and threaded on without priming takes 3 to 6 seconds to fill with oil on startup. 3 to 6 seconds doesn't sound like much, but during those seconds the engine is already spinning. The crankshaft is turning, the cam lobes are moving, the bearings are doing their job, all of it happening with almost zero oil pressure. That right there is the single most damaging moment in an engine's entire life cycle. And it happens every single time you change your oil the conventional way. Multiply that across years, across hundreds of thousands of miles, and you start to understand why most engines never see 300,000 miles. The good news is this method fixes every single one of those problems. Let's walk through it. Step 1 is the engine flush, and it starts before you ever touch the drain plug. With the engine completely cold, pour 1 quart of fresh oil, same grade you'll be filling with, right on top of the existing oil. Don't start the car yet, just pour it in. Now start the engine and let it idle for exactly 5 minutes. Not 3 minutes, not 10, 5. Set a timer if you have to. What's happening during those 5 minutes is the fresh oil is diluting the old oil, thinning it out, getting it circulating through passages it's been clinging to. Contaminants that have been sitting suspended in that old oil start moving. Buildup that's been accumulating in the quiet corners of your engine loosens up and gets carried along. When you drain it, those contaminants drain with the oil instead of staying behind. After the 5 minutes, shut the engine off and wait 10 minutes. This gives everything that loosened up contamination time to drain back down into the oil pan before you open the plug. Patience here pays dividends. I had a customer, a 2010 Ford Fusion, 160,000 miles, every oil change done at the same shop on a 7,500-mile schedule. First time we ran this flush step on her car, what came out of that drain was black as road tar, thick, dark, nasty. The shop had been doing technically correct oil changes for years, and that's what was still sitting inside the engine. After 2 oil changes using this full method, the oil draining out was noticeably cleaner. The color was lighter. It lasted longer at the same mileage interval. Her engine was cleaning itself from the inside out. That's what a proper flush does. Step 2 is what I call the hot drain procedure, and this is the one that separates this method from anything a quick lube shop has ever done or probably will ever do. After the flush, start the engine back up and drive for 10 to 15 minutes. Highway miles are better if you can get them. The goal is full operating temperature, sustained, not just warm, hot. You want the oil thin, fully circulating and carrying everything it's picked up from that flush step. When you get back, park on level ground and let the engine idle for 2 full minutes. Then shut it off and drain the oil immediately while it's still hot. This is the whole game right here. Hot oil is thin, it flows like water, it pours freely out of every passage and takes the contamination with it. Cold oil is thick and it clings, and when you drain cold, a significant portion of the old oil just never leaves. Every shop that drains your oil cold is leaving old, degraded oil inside your engine every single time. Hot drain changes everything. Now, if you have an EcoBoost, that 2-minute idle before shutdown is not optional. That turbocharger runs at temperatures far beyond what the rest of the engine sees. If you shut off immediately after a hard drive, the oil sitting inside the turbo bakes. Over time, that baked oil becomes carbon deposits, and those carbon deposits are one of the primary reasons EcoBoost turbos fail before they should. Ford's own service documentation flags this as a leading cause of early turbo failure. 2 minutes of idling. That's all it takes to protect a component that costs $1,500 to $2,500 to replace. Step 3 is the double drain method, and I'll be honest with you, this is the step I was most skeptical about when I first saw it on that card. Now it's the step I'd never skip under any circumstances. After the hot drain, go ahead and put the drain plug back in. But do not refill the engine yet. Walk away for 30 minutes. What's happening during that half hour is gravity doing work that no oil change machine can do. Oil that's been sitting up in the top end, around the camshafts, inside the timing chain cavity, clinging to the valve train, slowly works its way back down. It drips, it trickles, it gathers in the pan. After 30 minutes, pull the drain plug one more time and let whatever is left drain out. On my own 2015 F-150 with the 5.0 Coyote, the first time I did this step, I caught almost a half quart of dark oil in the second drain. Half a quart of old contaminated oil that would have mixed directly into my clean fill if I had moved straight from the first drain to the refill. Once you see how much comes out in that second drain, you will never rush past this step again. It takes 30 minutes of doing absolutely nothing. That's the whole cost. Step 4 is about the filter, and this one is simple, but almost nobody does it. Never install a dry filter, ever. Before you thread on the new filter, pour fresh oil into the center of it until it's about 65 to 70% full. Not to the brim, it'll spill when you tilt it to thread it on, just most of the way. Then take a small amount of oil on your fingertip and coat the rubber gasket that runs around the base of the filter. That film of oil helps it seat and seal properly under pressure, and it makes the filter dramatically easier to remove at the next change. Thread it on by hand until it's snug. No wrench needed to install an oil filter. A dry filter on startup means the engine is running with no oil pressure for the first 3 to 6 seconds while the filter fills from nothing. The engine is already spinning during those seconds. Bearings, cam lobes, valve train components, all of them moving with almost no lubrication at the exact moment friction is highest. A pre-filled filter means oil pressure builds the instant the engine starts. Immediate protection. It costs you 30 seconds and a small pour of oil. Step 5 is about how you refill, and most people are doing this wrong even when they're trying to do it right. Pour in roughly 80% of your engine's total oil capacity, then stop. Wait 5 minutes. Let the oil settle into the pan and work its way through the passages. Check the dipstick. Add a little more. Check again. Your target is the middle of the safe range. Not at the full mark, not at the low mark. Right in the middle. Here's why overfilling is a real problem that most people don't take seriously enough. When oil level is too high, the crankshaft, the large spinning component at the very bottom of the engine, begins making contact with the oil. It whips it. It churns air into it until the oil becomes foamy. Foamy oil cannot form a proper protective film between metal surfaces. It compresses. It failed, and the excess pressure that builds in the crankcase pushes against your seals, stressing them and eventually leaking past them. Filling to the middle of the range and then letting things settle means that once oil has distributed through every passage in the engine, the level in the pan will land right, where it needs to be. Not too much, not too little, exactly right. Step 6 is the first start procedure, and it's the kind of detail that separates people who really understand engines from people who just change oil. After you finish the fill, don't start the engine yet. Turn the key to the on position, not start, just on. Hold it there for 10 seconds. Turn it back off. Do that 2 or 3 times before you actually crank the engine. This primes the sensors and the fuel system before the engine starts spinning. It's a gentle transition from completely off to fully running, and it costs you maybe 30 seconds. Now crank the engine and let it idle on its own for a full 4 minutes. Do not touch the gas pedal, just let it sit and breathe. While it's running, watch the oil pressure warning light. It should go out within the first 3 to 5 seconds of startup. If it stays on longer than that, shut the engine off immediately. Something is wrong, and you need to find out what before you drive anywhere. During that 4-minute idle, get down and look under the car. Check the drain plug area. Check around the base of the filter. Look for any sign of dripping. Catching a small seep now, while the engine is idling in your driveway, costs you nothing. Missing it and driving onto the highway costs you an engine. After 4 minutes, shut it off. Wait 3 minutes. Pull the dipstick one more time and top off if needed. Now you're done. Step 7 is the first drive window, and it's less about the oil and more about you paying attention. For the first 25 miles after any oil change done with this method, drive gently. Keep it under 60 miles per hour. No hard acceleration. No pushing into high RPM. Vary your speed naturally rather than setting cruise control and zoning out. This isn't because the oil needs time to somehow activate or settle. Full synthetic oil protects from the second it goes in. What this 25-mile window is actually doing is giving you time to catch problems before they become catastrophic ones. A small drip at the drain plug that you might not notice at highway speed can drain an engine dry in 20 miles if you're not watching for it. A slow oil pressure problem that would be a simple fix if caught early becomes an engine replacement if ignored. 25 easy miles. That's your insurance window. After that, drive it however you normally would. Now let's talk oil selection for a moment, because this is one area where Ford owners commonly make mistakes that quietly cost them. If you have the 5.0 Coyote V8, Ford specifies 5W20. Don't go thicker because you think heavier oil means more protection. It doesn't. Modern engines are built to extremely tight tolerances, and a thicker oil actually takes longer to reach the critical components on cold startup. The wrong viscosity works against you, not for you. EcoBoost engines, the 2.0, 2.3, and 3.5, take 5W30. The turbocharger adds significant heat load, and the slightly thicker rating handles that better. If you're running the 3.5 EcoBoost, including the Raptor version, I'd cap your change intervals at 5,000 miles maximum. Those turbos work extremely hard and heat the oil up faster than a naturally aspirated engine ever could. For the 6.7 Powerstroke diesel, you need 10W30 rated specifically for diesel applications. Match your manual exactly on this one. Brand-wise, Motorcraft Full Synthetic is the cleanest choice for warranty purposes and is built to Ford's own specification. Mobil 1, Castrol Edge, and Pennzoil Platinum all meet the same standard and perform comparably. One warning: avoid high-mileage formula oils unless your engine is actively burning or leaking oil. Those blends contain additives designed to swell aging seals. In a healthy engine running this maintenance program, they can cause more harm than the problem they're meant to solve. Now I want to run the math for the people thinking this sounds expensive. At 5,000-mile intervals, doing this yourself, you're spending roughly $30 to $40 on 5 quarts of full synthetic, $10 to $15 on a quality filter, and $7 to $10 on the extra flush quart. Call it $50 to $65 per change. Over 50,000 miles, that's $500 to $650. Conventional shop changes at 10,000-mile intervals run $80 to $100 a visit, 5 visits per 50,000 miles. That's $400 to $500. So yes, this method costs you roughly $150 to $200 more over 50,000 miles. Now look at what you're avoiding. A timing chain job on a 3.5 EcoBoost from sludge damage runs $1,800 to $2,800. Piston rings on a high-mileage 5.4 Triton costs $2,000 to $3,500. A blown turbo on an EcoBoost from heat damage is $1,500 to $2,500. Any one of those single repairs wipes out a decade of oil change savings overnight. The $150 extra per 50,000 miles is the cheapest mechanical insurance that exists. The owner of that F-150 with 412,000 miles changed his oil every 4,500 miles. From the day he bought it, never stretched an interval, never skipped one. He told me he probably spent more on oil changes than anyone he knew. He also told me he never once opened that engine. No rebuild, no timing chain, no ring job, nothing. The math worked overwhelmingly in his favor, and it will work in yours. That warn card his father wrote had one line at the top, above all 7 steps. I copied it down that same night, and I've thought about it almost every day since. It said, the engine doesn't know how long it's been running. It only knows what you give it. That's the whole philosophy. That's everything. Every decision you make about how you change the oil, whether you drain it hot or cold, whether you prime the filter, whether you do the double drain or skip it because you're in a hurry, all of it adds up. Across years, across hundreds of thousands of miles, those small choices are the difference between an engine that gives up at 150,000 and one that's still running clean at 412.00. If this video helped you, hit subscribe and drop a thumbs up. That's genuinely what keeps this channel going. And I want to hear from you in the comments, because I'm building the next video around what you actually need. So here's my question for you. What's the biggest concern you have about your Ford engine right now? Option A: EcoBoost carbon buildup and turbo reliability. You've heard the horror stories and you want to know exactly what to do about it. Option B: timing chain and transmission service. You want to know when to do it, how to do it, and whether the shops are telling you the truth about what it costs. Option C: you're about to buy a used Ford and you want to know what to inspect, what mileage is actually too high, and what the common deal breakers are that most buyers completely miss. Drop your answer in the comments. Whichever one gets the most replies, that's the next video. I'll see you there.